Greetings for this special edition of Content Evolution New World. I'm Kevin Clark, and we're delighted to have Jochen Wertz with us from National University of Singapore. I had the pleasure of having dinner with Jochen recently at the Frontiers in Service Conference, and all of a sudden his name is called from the dais, right? And he is, awarded, one of the top awards in service marketing publications for, the entire planet, all right? And he goes up to accept. And so I said, oh, I picked the right table to be at. I think we had several people jump up on the dais that evening from our table. So I just lucked out, all right? I like being with people who are smart. And what was that paper about, by the way? What was the title of that paper?
Yeah, corporate digital responsibility.
Small topic, right? You always pick the small ones, Jochen.
Absolutely.
So at any rate, we have Jochen he was just telling us before we started to record this episode, you've been at National University of Singapore for 32 years, and you're currently Vice Dean of the MBA programs and Professor of Marketing. And you started with a PhD from London Business School, and you're an authority on services marketing and management. And you're in 200 publications. You are getting dangerously close to my one of my colleagues in my business, that's doing quantitative research, Richard Carson, who I think has, what was his last quote, 65,000 citations, okay, for his work as a environmental economist. And, I think that you are very widely cited, all right? So your Google 8 score must be very high, right? So I'll just say that I didn't even know what a Google 8 score was until I started to work directly with the academic community. So that's
Yes.
Good work. You have 86 highly cited, you're one of the top 86 cited researchers on the planet, all right, for your area of expertise in economics and business. So This is great. So you're going to talk to us this evening about service robots, AI, and intelligent automation and the implications for marketing strategy. I would appreciate it if you would not only, address the marketing components, but also the business framework and how things are likely to change in terms of our business models, right, as we're having our discussion. And with that, I'm going to turn the program over to Jochen. Put your questions into chat. And let me thank who's on the call, Tim Beheron, for being with us earlier today, talking about the announcements that Apple made earlier in the week. That was very helpful, Tim. Jochen, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for this wonderful introduction. Let me share my slides. Does that work?
Yes, looks great.
Wonderful. So good morning or good evening, everyone. I'm already on Friday the 13th here in Singapore. You're still on Thursday evening. But welcome to my session here on intelligent automation, service robots, and AI, and sort of my view on what's going to happen here in our world economies, if you will. So let me first start with now we are with sort of my view on this. So we had the agricultural revolution, we had the industrial revolution, and I mean, there's no way this planet could support 8-point-something billion people if we hadn't had these two revolutions. And from a business and marketing point of view, the industrial revolution was particularly sort of changed everything how economies work. From a marketing point of view, this is when modern marketing, including branding, pricing, distribution, advertising, and communications all started that didn't exist before, right? So for me, what I'm so excited about here, I tell my kids, you're so lucky, you're going to see what happens in the next 50 years. People will say in the 2020s, that is really when the service revolution gathered pace. And Why am I thinking this? Simply because all the technologies are coming together, and the speed is just unbelievable, whether it is hardware, software, any part of these things. And they have particularly implications for the service sector, which has been lagging behind productivity growth behind the other two sectors. And there's particular promise for education as well as healthcare, because these are probably the two most important sectors we have. And they have had lagging quality and productivity probably for as long as we can think. Yeah. So the question is really, what will this service revolution do for our economies? And I think one big difference really is that for goods, or manufactured goods, agricultural goods, there is still manufacturing cost, logistics, supply chain cost, and all of that. Many services are what we call information processing. You think about finance, communications, even education, even most parts of healthcare. They're information processing type services. And the incremental cost here is zero. So we all know what incremental cost of zero means. It means prices are moving towards that. So there's huge promise here for our economies. Now, let me go a bit, what do I mean by intelligent automation, service robots, and so on, and then we talk about the implications. So let me first say, I mean, intelligent automation, I use this umbrella term. It is not AI. AI is not what the customer sees, right? AI is not what the employee sees. That is a bit like Intel Inside. Yes, there's AI inside, but it's really a collection of a lot of technologies that include virtual physical service robots and technologies. And I don't want to go into detail, so I can give you a free copy of the book. I think the QR code here allows you to download the book, where we describe these 4 capabilities and technologies here. But it's never one technology. It's a web of things that together do what we hope is the holy grail of customer service, is end-to-end automation of customer service processes here. And what are service robots? I mean, let me just say, look, you know, we've had customer-facing technology forever, from very dumb self-service technologies to smarter ones like Google, to what today is we are moving into generative AI-powered service robots. So what you see currently in ChatGPT and so on, you will see in your interface and interaction with virtual agents of your banks and physical service robots in hotels and restaurants. And I mean, you know that there was a special issue in The Economist on no-code programming of physical robots. I mean, if you have generative AI-powered robots, there's this famous sort of film on YouTube and LinkedIn, which shows an experimenter talking to a robot, asking the robot, what do you see? And the robot describes, I see a table, a knife, an apple. Then the experimenter asks, so can you give me something to eat? And then the robot gives the apple to the experimenter, yeah? And then the experimenter asks, so why did you give me the apple? Because that's the only thing I have that is edible, and so on. So the thing is that in future, say you work in a kitchen with a robot, you see the robot do something you don't like, you can ask the robot, why are you doing this? Then you can explain to the robot why this is not the best course of action and how to do this in the future. And that means the next time this happens, this robot is being reprogrammed. So this is the no-code programming environment we are talking about. And robots, of course, are networked. So imagine you have someone like McDonald's or Pizza Hut or any of the larger chains. Anything you teach to one robot can go system-wide, probably with some sort of checking in between. But I mean, that's sort of the future we see here. And the difference to today's technologies is really that these smart service robots are very different from, let's say, what we have in Google, what we have in ATMs, ticketing machines. The problem with the old technology is that you as a customer, if you make a mistake, the process collapses. But if you work with a smart service robot, you make a mistake, the robot will guide you through the process very much like a human would do. So, I mean, it's really the smartness here. And I mean, Kevin was speaking so nicely about my award at the conference. What Kevin didn't say, he was one of the keynote speakers at that conference. So that's the premier conference in service research in the world. And he also said there, if I remember correctly, he said the current customer service you see in call centers is the worst you're ever going to see. So people always say, do you really believe that technology will take over? And you look at this chart here, this is our experience today with customer service. But you look at others, there are doomsday sort of predictions, which says, wow, you know, our life at this planet is at risk because this technology is improving so fast. There's another famous video here where you can see that. And I think the truth will probably be somewhere in between. So I'm closer to the scenario where technology gets incredibly smart. And yes, we have to manage that. So, I mean, this is sort of a backdrop here. So let me do two charts now on how that relates to the service sector, and then a number of predictions here on business models and our economies. So two dimensions to me that are very important on whether a service robot can take over, whether this thing can be automated. Yeah. And the first one is very important. Is the service tangible or intangible? And I mean, we're all used to Boston Dynamics and so on, having dancing robots, jumping robots, running dogs and all of that. Yeah, that's terribly exciting. But that is actually not quite where the music plays right now. They're in what we call intangible services. And that means any service that can be delivered over the phone, face-to-face conversation, over email, over an app, over a website. So these are the type of services which are massive. I want to change my seat on a flight. I want to change the address on a credit card. I want to buy a travel insurance, right? These are all information type services here where I don't have to touch anything. Education, I don't have to touch anything. I touch your mind, not physical things. Healthcare, most stuff, I mean, I can do everything on Zoom and with fulfillment centers. The only thing I can't do over the phone and over a teledoctor is poke you, right? But I can ask you poke yourself, right? So, I mean, so the intangible part is incredible. And I mean, in the US, the two fastest shrinking job categories are really retail assistants and call center staff, right? And why? Technology, e-commerce is taking over. And let me give you two examples here. I mean, I'm in Singapore. Changi Airport always tries to be one of the best airports in the world, but payroll is expensive in Singapore. So they're always hunting for how do you automate. So every new terminal that opens, every renovation that opens has less and less staff. But one thing we still have is an information counter at every terminal and every level. That is expensive real estate, expensive headcount, and it is bad service because you may be on one end of this whole airport and the information center is in the middle, right? So I promise you, give it 2-3 years, there will be a holograph beamed every 50 meters in the airport. That holograph will speak the 20-30 most common languages. So you can speak Japanese, Spanish, Chinese, right? Well, whatever. And they will be so cheap because there is only a beamer, a microphone, and a speaker, Wi-Fi connected, that they're so cheap that you can place them even in car parks. And in Singapore, they have number plate recognition. They can even guide you to your car, you know? So, and will you not have people anymore? No, there still will be a small control center where all of these avatars or holographs come together. And the interesting thing is that it doesn't matter anymore the language your customers speak or the language your staff speak, because the customer may speak Thai into the avatar, but it comes out as, let's say, Mandarin or Malay or English. in the center of the control center. So I mean that's the future really for many services that are information providing type of services. I'm in education. We are prepared for a massive revolution in the education sector and disruption in the education sector for sure. I mean, I'm Vice Dean MBA, Executive MBA program. So, I mean, my prediction is most MBA programs in the next 40, 50 years will go out of business simply because there will be low cost, high quality, scalable solutions. And that doesn't necessarily mean no personal touch. If you're a massive school, you have a set of students in every major city. They meet once or twice a month on a Saturday morning in a hotel, or in a meeting room or serviced office. And that's where they have their facilitation and meetings and discussions. And I don't have to pay expensive professors to do this anymore. I can take alumni. I can take PhD students, right? So, I mean, I'll give you an example. I've seen metaverse training solutions for how do you learn how to do public speaking. You take on your goggles as metaverse, you click, do I have a 20 people boardroom? Do I have a 2,000 people keynote? Is it a motivational speech? Is it a sales talk? So what talk is it? And then you do your 10, 15 minutes talk in the metaverse here. And the analysis you get back is just unbelievable. You looked a lot to the right side, not at ignored the left side of the audience. You made hardly eye contact, or you spoke way too fast. You didn't have breaks after your full stops. You didn't vary your voice, right? It gives you such a detailed analysis, which a human trainer probably could not even do. Yeah, so then you try, let's say you want to take out the filler word. So you got said, look, I use a lot of filler words. So you try again. You do it without the filler word. But imagine you learn French. You pick your teacher. You go to the Champs-Élysées. You order your cafe latte in a restaurant. You talk with your teacher there. You talk to the waiters. Next thing is you go to a business meeting. And I mean, my wife was based in Paris for a long time. Google Translate didn't understand our French, right? Our pronunciation wasn't very good. So I promise you, with these metaverse type of learning apps, it will tell you exactly how to move your tongue, how to move your lips, how to breathe until you get your pronunciation perfect. I mean, that will be the future of learning here. Now, physical robots, like what you see in hotels and sometimes concierges and so on, that is also coming, but a bit slower. We have done a lot of research here in hospitals and hospitality settings in Singapore, where we looked at the implementation of physical robots. One was the National Cancer Center in Singapore, where they just moved into a new building. And the whole infrastructure in that building is designed for physical robots. Stuff they couldn't do in their old facility, they can do now. And it is not so much the value proposition of robots or why they do it is not so much that they want to cut cost, but there's a massive labor shortage of medical staff and nurses. There are a lot of unpleasant jobs to be done in hospitals. And for these kind of things, they use robots now. I mean, I can give you one example is they implemented a toilet. So if you're on chemotherapy, they have to measure your excrements, weigh them, look at them, analyze them, and so on. And that's an unpleasant task for nurses, obviously. And so that whole thing is a robot today. So including cleaning the toilet afterwards. So photo taking, analysis, and everything done. And nurses are not much involved anymore, except bringing you to the room and taking you out of the room. Yeah. So, I mean, if you think about the old days, implementing a robot in a hotel for room service and baggage service was a challenge. Why? The robot didn't know how to take the lift, how to open doors, how to call a room. Today, you have API interfaces, Wi-Fi interfaces, Bluetooth interfaces everywhere. The robot can call the lift, can say I want to go to level 15, I can go to the room 15-13 and can then ring the bell or call the room because it's all integrated. Yeah, so I think the biggest, the fastest is, as I said, that's happening at the moment. My guess is in 3 years, most call center staff will be gone in this world. We will have very small, highly professional teams left for the overflow, for training, for answering the really complex questions. And the physical robots will take a little longer. Now, the second, so I only promised 2 dimensions here. The second dimension is really, what is the core value proposition of your service? So is that hedonic social, or is it cognitive analytical? And in the service setting, I promise you, most stuff that of any type of complexity, where the value proposition is analytical, cognitive, will be delivered by technology. What will remain for people, for human employees, this is the emotional social part of the value proposition. My colleagues, they talk about the feelings economy. That's what people focus on. And I mean, you can see this is the complex stuff emotionally, like, you know, bad news in a hospital, complex education parts. I mean, I've seen kindergartens in Scandinavia where they have 1 teacher and 4 robots, right? The robot teaches all the 1 + 1 and so on. And the teacher deals with the difficult kids, with the difficult parts, but it means the teacher doesn't have to do the 1 + 1 anymore. The teacher only focuses on the mental breakdowns, conflicts, when kids don't understand. So marriage counseling, stuff like whitewater rafting, Disney, where you want to scream and shout with another person and not with a robot. Okay. And I mean, the interesting bit here, when it gets very complex on emotions and on cognitive, this will be service robot teams. I mean, look, in the US, I promise you, in 10 years, if you're a GP and you misdiagnose a patient and an AI would not have made this mistake, you will be liable for misconduct here, right? So we will get a lot more AI support on these things here. Now, I'm from Germany originally, and in Germany, I don't know why, they love technology and cars, but they hate almost all other technology. You know, we are so green, we are so social, you know, anything, oh my God. And then when I give a talk, what about the human touch, you know? It's all robots. And I asked them, so what about the human touch here? Oh, it's very important to us. We really want the human touch. And I asked them, look, you know, I mean, so it's so important to you. And they say, yeah, very important to me. They asked them, look, you know, if it's so important to you, you tell me, the last time you cashed money, when did you go to the human teller and not to the ATM? And then they say, oh. They asked them, how many of you wake up in the morning and says, I'm so happy, I'm going to call my Amex card company today. Actually, most of the service stuff we get, we don't want to consume. We only want the outcome. I want this seat. I want this address changed. I want this whatever. My kids have been in Europe now for a long time. In Europe, for many of the low-cost carriers, and they charge you if you go for a human check-in. I think it's like €5, €10 per check-in. You can guess in 10 years how many times my kids went to the human check-in and paid, right? It's 0. So, I mean, I think the human touch in most cases is completely overrated. We want the outcome. We don't want the transaction and the service. And the companies that don't move with this, they're going to suffer. And the holy grail here is really end-to-end automation of customer service processes. So I had the privilege of working with Pascal Bornet, who is now, he's French, but he was in Asia for a long time. And he ran the McKinsey practice for automation and intelligent automation and robotics in Asia. And he did like 700 digital transformations while he was here in Asia, I think over a 10-year period. And I mean, this was ANZ Bank in Australia, New Zealand. I mean, so many processes. I don't want to go through the details here, but thing is that from customer acquisition through ads on social media to issuing a credit card, whether it's an e-card or a physical card, to issuing a travel insurance, there is no human touch on the bank side. The whole thing is fully automated. And you can see again, it's not one technology, it's a lot of technologies with a lot of APIs. I mean, you have to get the credit history, you get credit scores, they check police files. I mean, yeah, of course, there's a lot of interconnect here, but the thing is, it is end-to-end automated. And that's where we're going in many services. And sort of my world champion in scalable solutions is really Google. I've had many students from, I mean, Pascal also, we wrote this book on intelligent automation. He was my student in the executive MBA. So I was the director of the UCLA NUS executive MBA for a long time, actually. And he was in that program. And so I had many students from Google in my program. I mean, and many presentations. And I can tell you, I'm so stunned. They are, to me, the world leader in scalable, robust, customer error tolerant, self-service technology. So the worst thing that happens, or that should happen with a Google service, is you shut down the app and you restart it, you know? And I mean, I'm so impressed with them. They have really like three criteria for their services. Number one is addressable market needs to be 1 billion customers. Number two, the toothbrush test. This 1 billion customers needed at least twice a day. It's like your Google Mail, your Google Maps, right? Google Search, AdWords, right? So these are services that are used a lot. And if you think about it, 1 billion customers twice a day, there is no way you can provide human customer service. That stuff has to work. And how they do this is, so the third part they do is what they call the Swiss Army knife principle, meaning one problem, one tool. And why? If it's, I mean, I'm on Windows 11 and I can tell you it's so interconnected, it crashes at least once a week, at least, you know? So the more you have stuff interconnected, the more mistakes I as a user can make. And more importantly, the more interconnected it is, the harder it is for developers to really build robust services here. And so Google, for the developers is also very easy. So, I mean, you can see, and if you look at modern, recent sort of unicorns that deliver new services, I look at healthcare, so we have a lot of healthcare apps here in Asia. I look at fintechs, like from the UK, we have Wise, we have Revolut. So I don't know whether you know these, but for me, I'm a customer of both. And I love Wise. Why? I love both of them, but I mean, I'm using Wise a lot more for the simple reason I adopted them first. And I come to that later on. But what Wise gives me is, yeah.
I'm not familiar with it. I don't think that others would be. So just tell us what the service is that Wise provides.
Oh, Wise is a fintech that gives you a e-card, e-credit card, and physical credit card in virtually all currencies in this world. It, you know, if you have Amex or Visa, they number one charge you a commission on foreign currency transactions, and they give you a shitty exchange rate. So if I use my Amex in Thailand, is as good as paying 6% in transaction costs on that. If I take a Visa in Thailand, it's 3.5–4% transaction cost here. For Wise, they give you the absolute fair currency exchange rate and add in general a 0.5% fee. So I cut my fees from 6% to 0.5%. And the other thing that's very interesting is they give you local bank accounts. So Kevin, if you need to pay me $50 or I need to pay you $50, I give you my US account. Meaning I can send you money from my account, you can send money to me from your account, and it sits in my US account, no fees. And I have US, UK, Euro, Yen, Aussie dollar, Singapore dollar, because they're registered with the central banks or the monetary authorities in these countries. So, I mean, I had an online bank in Germany. They charged me, number one, 19.95 € for every foreign currency transaction. So I get royalties for many countries. I give talks and so on for many countries. I easily spend 2,000, 3,000 euros just on a year on these transactions. Plus, again, they give you a shitty exchange rate. Plus, they charge you 1.5% commission on top of the whole thing, right? So, I mean, I save thousands of euros a year with Wise by having local. So it's a relatively complex product, but have a guess how often I have chatted, emailed, talked to a Wise employee. It's exactly 0. The account was opened in 45 seconds because we have something called the Sync Pass in Singapore. That's a government-based service where they can do the know your customer. They port over all my information and I'm in business. So, I mean, Wise, Google, Revolut is similar to Wise. And I mean, in the US, maybe you don't need, you have mostly US dollars, it's a big country, but here in Asia, I take 2 steps, I'm outside Singapore in a different currency environment. So that's very important to me. Yeah, so I mean, these are the kind of services we're looking at, offer fantastic value, almost free. So let me go, we have a few more, I have a few more minutes here. Let me go on what are these implications for the service sector here, and a few predictions, and you can challenge me on those. I mean, I said I'm from Germany, so when I bring this in Germany, there's always an outcry here. How can this happen, right? But okay, let me start with the first prediction here. So one thing is scalability will lead to increased concentration of service markets. And this is the same as for the Industrial Revolution. Look, we had millions of shoemakers, dressmakers. The minute we have factories, most of them are out of business. The same will happen for many services. I mean, you think about it. How many Google Maps do we need in this world? Yeah, we don't want only 1 or 2 or 3 for competitive reasons, but do we need more than 10? Probably not. Yeah. How many, this is Wise here. How many banks do I need globally? Honestly, Wise for me, if I move to the US, I already have a bank account. If I move to Europe, I already have a bank account, right? How many credit card companies do I need? It's because of regulation at the moment, but look, these fintechs have the muzzle, they have the lawyers, they can get their bank registered and licensed in different countries around the world. And every one of these fintechs takes juicy margin from existing banks. So my bank in Germany now makes 3, 4, 5,000 euros less on me on foreign currency transactions every year. And it's not that that money is not being spent, but I now spend it on a nice beach diving holiday somewhere, not on banking fees anymore. Yeah. But I mean, if I didn't spend that money, you can see GDP would shrink, right? So these fintechs, they eat up margin that shrinks GDP for others. Yeah. I mean, how many YouTube education Coursera do we need? How many Ubers, Airbnbs do we need? I just tell you, yes, we need maybe 10, maybe 20, maybe there's space for 30 globally, but not like currently banks. I don't know how many banks we have in this world. I know definitely high-end hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of banks. And I mean, why, right? So there will be massive concentration. I'm in education. I predict the same will happen for a lot of education businesses here. As MBA programs, for example, most of them are in trouble. Now, services will become very productized. It happened to goods, right? We buy from IKEA or, you know, and it's not anymore. Yes, it's custom made or custom modularized for you, but it's not anymore custom tailored. So services will be the same. Just think of what you get at the App Store right now. This will be the service of the future. You buy travel insurance. This is where US, Americas, globally, so you click down, whole family for 1 week, for 3 weeks, for the whole year. So it's a few options you have, but that is it. Yeah. So it will be much more productization. customer service delivered by people will become less of an issue. I mean, look, how many of you ever talked to an employee of WhatsApp, of YouTube, of Google? We don't talk to employees. We don't interact with them. These are robust solutions that deliver. And I mean, for more complicated services like, I mean, ride sharing, home sharing, Airbnb, there is, of course, room for conflict and other things. There you do need service recovery, conflict resolution, and so on. But you're better off trying to minimize this and design it in a way that you have this as a very rare incident here. But customer service delivered by people will go for most businesses. Now, will there be no more face-to-face? Of course there will be, right? Look, we still have handcrafted bags, but they're from Louis Vuitton and Hermes, and they cost you an arm and a leg, right? Service will be the same. You will have handcrafted services like high net worth individual banking, like Harvard Business School MBA. They will be face-to-face. They will be like luxury type of services. It is not that their prices will go up a lot more. What they don't have is they don't have the productivity gains of the scalable solution, because their prices will collapse, right? Their prices will go down, whereas the people delivered stuff will stay, so the differential will be massive. So you can get probably, you give it another 10 years, you will get a top-notch quality MBA for $10,000, $20,000. In an Ivy League type school, that will be your $200,000, $300,000, right? So there's a huge multi-factor in sort of premium. Now, a lot of that technology we will be using will not be delivered or built in-house. And why? Think about ATMs. How many banks build their own ATMs? How many retailers build their own point of sale systems? They don't. So how many insurance companies, banks will build their own technology solutions? And I mean, this Soul Machines is I think a New Zealand-based company, and they build your digital workforce. So you tell them what you need, and they build your frontline staff for you. Yes, why would you do it yourself? So going forward, we will have solution providers who provide global solutions for pizza restaurants, sushi restaurants, for hotel concierge solutions. It's like any other industry. So we buy this stuff from technology providers, which for the business means you can't differentiate on it. I mean, no bank differentiates on ATMs or retailers on point of sale. Why? They all have buy from the same vendors. Technology will be the same. Here, two more points. I mean, I am very, very optimistic because, look, we have the UN development goals here, and we live in reasonably competitive market economies. And that means if we can cut the costs so dramatically of many services, then, as I said, information processing type services, incremental costs are close to zero. That means these services will become virtually free, very cheap, and or advertising funded. And I mean, I always see, I mean, again, all my German friends, I always say, oh, the rich get richer and it's all terrible. And I said, it's all bullshit, you know? Think about this. When I moved to London decades ago, that was a major exercise. Why? I didn't have Google Maps. I had a physical map. I didn't have a mobile phone. I had to actually go to a telephone booth to call potential landlords to talk to them and to view a room or a flat, right? I mean, if I think it took me forever to open a bank account. I mean, you think it back today, we have what? We have WhatsApp, Zoom. A 1-minute call from London to my parents was £2.60. A 10-minute call is 26 pounds. Can you imagine how many pints that was at that time? So what do? Go to the pub or call my mom, right? Today I have a 1-hour call with my wife and my kids. We are all over the world every Sunday, video call on WhatsApp, and it's free. my wife was so worried because the kids were so pampered. Here in Asia, you have a home taker and so on. They didn't do anything here in Singapore at home. They just basically study and otherwise have fun. And my wife was so worried, oh, if they go to Europe and study, how will they survive? Do you know how they survived? Very easy. If you do not know how to operate this Bosch da-da-da dishwasher, the water doesn't drain, what do? You ask YouTube, right? There's a 3-minute video on this problem. And look, anything they needed to know about anything is on YouTube. And what does it cost you? Nothing, right? We have so many health apps coming in Singapore here now. I mean, from tele doctors, I don't go to a physical doctor anymore unless I need a COVID jab or flu jab or something. But everything I speak on a Zoom or Teams or something. And actually, with a camera, you can show them your tongue, you can show them your skin, they can even your heartbeat, you can connect to your Fitbit. I mean, it's unbelievable all the things you can do. And so far, no doctor on telemedicine ever told me you have to see you have to go to a clinic. This could all. I mean, the gains in productivity, especially in education and healthcare, will be mind-boggling, and people forget already how many services that deliver incredible value to us are offered virtually free. So if people always talk, oh, we are getting poorer and poorer, it's not true. Our quality of life is improving dramatically. It is just people look with envy if somebody has a nice car or a boat or something, right? But the daily life of most of us is getting better and better here. Now, there are, of course, massive also potential dark sides or implications here. And this what Kevin was talking about, the paper on corporate digital responsibility. There are massive ethical, fairness, and privacy risks with that technology. And I could spend hours talking about it, but let me give you just a few touch points and then I close and we have 15 minutes for Q&A here. But let me first say ethics, right? There are macro issues here on dehumanization, threats to human dignity, social deprivation, disempowerment, social engineering, addiction. Yeah, there are huge issues, all of them, absolutely, yes. The technology is malleable. We know social media, they were not designed to spread fake news. They were designed to create engagement. So happens all that extreme stuff is creating a lot of engagement, right? And very worrying is that this technology can actually predict, nudge, and manipulate you without even your awareness. And that is a problem if this is done on a for-profit basis. So we have seen bookings.com, TripAdvisor. So some of my colleagues analyzed these algorithms. And I don't know whether you are aware, probably you are in the back of your mind. We are all aware of it, but we don't really monitor it very much or think about it when we do it. But if you look at the top hits from TripAdvisor, they are not what optimizes your well-being. They optimize the well-being of the platform. And it's an interaction between your probability of liking and buying that solution times the commission they get.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see if the commission goes up, your well-being drops, you know? So that's one issue. Fairness is the other thing. We know there's no fairness. There's no bias-free algorithm. We know that, and you know all the famous cases out there. So my colleagues, they identified 8 different biases technology has. Good news is, the counter news is that there's also no bias-free human decision-making. So hopefully, what we have seen, if you combine AI and humans, but it means you still have humans somewhere in the loop to avoid these biases. And the last one is privacy. And this is, of course, the oldest part. And what my colleagues analyzed, the German colleagues, they analyzed the eBay privacy policy in Germany, it's mind-boggling. It takes you over a week, 10 hours a day to read that privacy policy. I forgot now how many millions of words that privacy policy has, number one. And number two, if you click agree, your data are shared with over 900 partners in the eBay ecosystem. And these partners include Chinese partners, Dutch partners. I mean, your data goes all over the world. And we are being coerced, meaning if you click don't agree, that's the end of you using eBay, all right? So you want to use the service, you agree. So, I mean, these are issues. And I mean, in our paper on corporate digital responsibility, our conclusion was self-regulation doesn't work. It didn't work for privacy. It's not going to work for AI. And why? It is so damn profitable. You look at Zuckerberg, I mean, in Congress, right? He winding and whatever. He's not going to give up his data. He's fighting tooth and nail over the data. And you can see the fights that Google and Meta had. Yeah. Why? It's billions and billions of dollars. I mean, come on. Even Google started out, we do good, right? So, I mean, this is sort of the risks here. So, I mean, here I come back to this, I show it, but these are my predictions here. Let me say, like Kevin said, we have done tons of research. So yes, I do consulting in the field, but I also do a lot of academic research. The book Intelligent Automation with Pascal, I mean, for you guys, you can download a free copy on my ResearchGate account. Just don't tell Pascal, he's still selling it on Amazon. Yeah. but let me say thank you so much. So have a wonderful evening here. I'm in Singapore, so I'm already Friday the 13th, right? But thank you for having me, and I'm happy to take any questions. And I put the implications here sort of as a reminder, or Kevin, if you want, I can also take down the PowerPoint and we can have a full face-to-face discussion, I guess. Or you can take down the PowerPoint. I think I can't.
I can do that.
Yeah.
And there we are. And let me just add here. Thank you very much. That was great. We had requests for those charts. Can we have those shared via link or some mechanism that I can share? Thank you. And
I'm disabled to share it over the chat. My computer doesn't, but I will email you the charts.
That's fine. But I mean, we've done that many, many times in the past, right, for this gathering. So Doug Hoolan was posting quite a few things in chat. I wanted to just remind everyone toward the end there, Google never promised that they would do good. What they promised is don't be evil, okay?
Don't be
Which
evil.
is
and they took that away, actually.
I know they did, but I'm just saying that
their motto no longer was don't be evil.
Don't be evil was you know, not a promise to be good. Okay.
Okay.
It's interesting that it's been interpreted that way. Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, no,
great
presentation. I really like the slide, you know, that about humans and robots, and been thinking about that. You know, I posted because what was it? Morgan Stanley, they came out with humanoid investments, because now everyone's coming out with yeah, I think there's like 20 companies or so that have humanoid robots out there, right? And
yes.
you know, and I like that chart that you had, that humanoid robots versus you know, more traditional robots, and then AI as well. So I guess you know, one of my questions is you know, in 10 years from now, you know, of your matrix, which ones will have the most impact on humanity?
Oh no, I think, you know, the information processing type services, simply because incremental costs go close to zero. That means, let's say currently, I mean, we are terribly underserved in healthcare in most parts of the world. I mean, US is underserved, Singapore, we can't afford. And already you can see now with AI support, you have mediocre trained physicians in the rural areas of Africa, but with AI support, you really give them a massive lift in the quality of service they can provide. I mean, I think you remember the first experiments that I did with ChatGPT, the biggest quality lift wasn't given to the people top of their game. It was given to the average and poor performers. They really benefited a lot from this technology. So we are going to get a massive de-skilling, if you will. So I can deliver top-notch services with people who are a lot less trained if they have this AI support. So I think healthcare and education, to me, look, I mean, these are the two services that are most important for our society's well-being. And look, we are not doing a good job on these two sectors, if you think about it, you know? And I mean, I love this experiment they did. I think it was Sweden, but I mean, it was a Scandinavian country where they reduced the number of kindergarten teachers. So they had, I think it was 8 kids to a teacher. They made it 12 kids to a teacher or 16 kids to a teacher. And they had round tables with 4 kids sitting on each table. And every table had a little robot on it, and they had different design and they had different names. So every team had their own little robot here. They asked the kids, so they did, let's say, mathematics, so basic 1 + 1 or whatever, or spelling or basic stuff. So they're so cute. They interviewed the kids. How do you like working with the robot? And they said, oh, we love Sam. Yeah. And why? Well, you know, even if I don't understand 3-4 times when the robot explains, Sam never gets angry. And Sam is very, if I don't understand this way, Sam knows another way how to explain it to me. And the comment of the teacher was, actually, I can now focus on those kids or those interactions that really need me. So you can see, I mean, it's not that you will have no more human touch, but I can bring that touch to that point where it really has value. And I think for most of the services we use, there is no value. I mean, honestly, I loathe it every time I have to call any of the big companies, talk to them about something. It means, and I love, there's one bank in Singapore here, they won world's best bank and world's best digital bank for many years in a row now. And so their tech team, they basically say, look, you know, every call to the call center is a service failure. And why? That customer doesn't want to call you, you know? And it means that customer could not do what they wanted to do on the app or on the website or on the ATM. So now they call you.
Yeah,
so they do a frequency count, and they say, look, we design out these fail points from our service.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that described just like the Toyota stop the production line until we get it fixed so it never happens again, is exactly what you're describing in service engagement. Is if you stop the the call center, right, and let's make sure this gets logged so they never have to call again, that they can find it in some other way. Suzanne, you were talking about some things in chat. Join us.
Yes. Oh gosh, Josh, and this is an outstanding presentation. I think you really, Mark, and your implication slide to me was the most profound slide. And I agree with you 1,000% about healthcare and education can only improve, right? But and the financial institutions, they've really got this down. I don't really want to talk to their customer service. I mean, I had an Amazon order recently where I had claimed that it was a fraudulent order, but I bought the Next Reality book. Right, Doug? Okay, I bought the book. Well, it was on back order. And then they charged me when I was in travel. And I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't buy a book when I was on the airplane. And what they did was it came in from back order, right? And oh my God, calling customer service, what a nightmare that was, right? Because I mean, I called them to tell them, hey, I need to reverse. It's not a fraud. I actually did buy the book. I want to pay for the book. So could you just imagine? I mean, I hung up. I mean, I was with 4 bots and I couldn't take it anymore. And as far as the hospitality, I just checked into a resort And I just to negotiate a higher level room, or because I've been here before, a spa. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. The robots are here for that. Yeah, to greet me in the lobby. I'm not sure I'm ready for that, but financial, academia, for sure. Oh gosh, you hit it on the mark.
Thank
I
you,
really
Susan.
liked your slide. I mean, that is an amazing slide. You've done some amazing work. I really don't have a question. It's like,
Okay, well,
I hope that customer service gets better. I'd like your answers for that.
Thank
I
you,
think it's
thank
gonna take another. I think that'll take a decade. I think I could get a food prepper robot faster than customer service, but I don't know. I'd love your take on that one. But thank you so much for the presentation. It was
thanks, Suzanne. We
extremely
greatly
Thank you,
appreciate
Suzanne.
your
awesome.
joining
No,
the conversation.
oh gosh,
Okay.
I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mark, join us.
Am I unmuted? Thank you. So thank you very much for that presentation. I'm going to be a slight bit tongue in cheek here because the thing that I kept thinking through the whole thing is, what value are you adding? What value are you adding? You could have written this presentation with ChatGPT. It would have found your citations, all your stuff. If it were presented by a robot, it could have gone twice as fast. It could have spoken twice as fast as you. And so as this progression happens, as this does more and more, the question is, what value? If the cost of education is at zero, why hire a professor at all? And then you can take it one more step and turn it and say, if the robots can do all this stuff, what would they hire a person for? What would they hire a person for? And I'm interested in your answer here.
No, Mark, absolutely. I'm fully with you, I've written, I mean, what Mark didn't say, but I have the world's leading services marketing textbook as well. So 30 different languages. So I have so much material posted. I have a YouTube channel with tons of, so I could have shown you my YouTube video on that presentation, right? No need for a robot. I just show you the video, and absolutely, I'm fully with you. And I mean, some of my colleagues, they developed their own avatars, which they fed with their own thinking books and so on, and they answer questions the way they would themselves. We at the university, we are training on ChatGPT. We have our own internal subscription, so there's our own cloud-based solution, so I can even upload grading and so confidential stuff there. But for example, I did all of my multiple choice exams and my essay type exams and run them through ChatGPT. And I even instructed ChatGPT, please write it in the style of Professor Jochen Wirtz. So I recognized my textbooks and other stuff where they took all that material. I'm fully with you. In our book, Intelligent Automation, we have two scenarios here. One is the optimistic, and I think most economists are leaning towards that, and they say this revolution will be the same as past revolutions in a sense that it will create more jobs than it destroys. The optimistic. The pessimistic solution is this time is different. We will actually lose a lot of jobs. Now, my co-author, as I said, he is French. Yeah. So he said, look, no problem, who says we have to define ourselves over our jobs and work? You think about before the Industrial Revolution, what was much more important than your work was how is your polo, who played the opera, and, who moved to town and so on. I mean, we don't. So in the book, as I said, we describe these two scenarios. The reality, I think, maybe probably somewhere in between. That we will need a lot of jobs will be de-skilled, and we will need. I mean, there will be very few experts who are truly world leading and so on. And they can be scaled, or their knowledge and expertise can be scaled. Having said that, so I mean, I believe that education can offer a lot here. And I mean, look, I'm Vice Dean MBA programs. We are fully embracing that transformation. So my team, all of them go through training. We use so much automation and scaling. And our entire strategic direction for the MBA is what we call experiential transformation. So we do this. So we want to be one of the few face-to-face, expensive, high-touch MBA programs that survive in Asia. And Singapore is a great location for that for many reasons. I don't want to, if you want, I have a whole video on the future of education on my YouTube channel here on MBA education. But so we do this, we invest today, we have what we call a dual core, an experiential core and an academic core. And my experiential team today already is as big as my academic team. So we do all of the stuff you can't learn online. So I mean, there will be massive transformation. And I mean, I wouldn't be in banking in the next 20 years or 30 years because margins will evaporate. I think all the mediocre mid-tier kind of schools will go and poor level schools will go because of this massive concentration. Having said that, I mean, it's a bit like, let's say, when I grew up, there was this discussion, do we allow calculators in the classroom? And my first career, I was a banker. So I have all the German banking licenses here. So I did the full banking story. And I can tell you that because of my training, I'm very good with numbers. So you throw any numbers at me, I know what they mean. I can put them into context. I have a feeling for those numbers. But if you never learned how to deal with numbers, you don't have that feeling. So you still, as a human, will have to learn these things. And I'll give you another example. My son-in-law has a PhD in physics, and I tried to understand his research, and I couldn't, simply because I can dump this stuff into ChatGPT and ask me, can you explain this to me very, very, very simply? But then it becomes so simple that it's almost meaningless. So, I mean, unless you have base knowledge on these things, you can't appreciate, you can't work. So I think on the learning education bit, we still have to do these things. The emphasis will change, but we will need it. On the employment side, I mean, as I said, we have an insatiable demand for the globally, there are only 3 sectors growing. Everything else is shrinking. Insurance, banking, telco, they're all shrinking. The 3 growing ones are still, the number 1 in the world is healthcare. And there's an insatiable demand simply because, 80% of the world is underserved, and the rich countries lifelong we get older and older. We need more and more healthcare longer and longer. So, and we start with healthcare younger and preventive healthcare, healthy aging, and so on. The second is education. Again, for poor countries is the only way out of poverty, and for rich countries, we really talk about lifelong learning. So, I mean, yes, we will need much fewer professors. For example, in my MBA, basic accounting, basic economics, statistics for business, mathematics for business. I don't use professors for these courses. I buy Harvard Business School Publishing or Pearson Education Publishing. I license their online learning environments. They're white labeled. I put my NUS brand on it. I put the name of my professor on it who supervises this whole thing. But I'm not going to pay that professor the same as when he was teaching a class. Yeah, it's different now. He is just picking the modules, picking the assessment, picking the exercises, and the thing is almost, it auto runs. So yeah, I agree with you, massive implications. The good news is we will have a dramatically increased productivity of the top performers in any one of the jobs we have, and we will be able to scale that a lot more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love your question, and sorry if the answer is a little bit long, but I am excited for the future.
I want to leave time for other people, but I want the follow-up is, yes, we can see the value of the top 1%. They create all the stuff. They're us. We talk about that. What about the other 99% of the world? Where is value added for them? And I'll just propose something. The 3 things that I see are realizing dreams, fixing problems, and helping other people. And I think that's what everybody in the world will be doing, one of those 3 things.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to just say we are at and over, all right, the hour that we allocated. So thank you for your additional time. I'm going to ask Bruce Parks to ask his question, and then we're going to wrap. But but thank you for your time. Bruce, you're on mute, sir. You're on mute.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you for that information. It was stunning, really. I mean, from my perspective, just brilliant insight. But yesterday I was listening to Elon Musk for about an hour. He spoke about automation and robots and that kind of thing. And, what he said was that within, the next 10 years, that everybody will have their own robot buddy. And that the cost of those units will drop to someplace in the neighborhood of $10,000. And that's Elon. He's just spitballing here. But so that's my first just wondering whether you agreed with that scenario or not. And secondly, the last issue that you raised, which I haven't really seen an answer to, and I don't know that anyone does have. Where are all the jobs going to come from? I mean, I'm not so, I think that's a big question for everybody.
Yeah. No, Bruce, fully agree with you. So in our book, we talk about universal basic income. So if, number one, a lot of people don't enjoy their jobs. I mean, you ask people who work in retail, call centers, F&B, how many go to work and say, I'm so happy I go to work today? Of course, we know work is good for people because it gives you structure for your life and so on, but doesn't mean you have to work for 40 hours a week to sustain your lifestyle. So I think we will have to think harder on how to make sure that the whole population has a good quality of life. And I agree that this is also Pascal's view. We will focus a lot more on people in our lives, the people who matter. I mean, look, we spend too little time with our parents. We spend too little time with our kids. We spend too little time with our friends, right? I mean, I think most of us, we are working a lot. And is that the best way of living a life? So if we could spend a lot more time and have a livelihood that sort of is what we would like to have, I think why not? I mean, the promise, the potential is there. Having said that, we don't know because, let's say, a lot of services we consume today didn't exist 30, 40 years ago. We didn't have personal trainers and Netflix and I don't know what, right? So then our lifestyle have changed. And with all of these new technologies, and I agree with Elon Musk on that most of us, at least in the developed world, will have home robots that will do your dishes and so on. The technology is moving so rapid that I believe that will happen. But to me, that is sort of the secondary part. The primary part is, look, healthcare, education, banking, these kind of services that basically their cost will collapse. And that means dramatically increase in standard of living. As I said, I use my money now, instead of giving my bank to my bank in Germany, I use that money to go diving in the Maldives. Much more enjoyable than paying my banker.
That sounds right. So one of the things that as we wrap up today is you write a lot of papers with a lot of different authors, and in many cases you're looking for things. You're looking for signals. You're looking for people that you want to get connected to. So this is our, offer to you. What do you need for what you're exploring next?
Oh, good question. I mean, we are moving heavily now into digital twins. That's sort of the research topic we focus on. And digital twins could be anything, right? It could be your own digital twin in a healthcare context, but could be entire hospital systems, airport systems. So any one of you, if you have interesting cases, use cases for digital twins, let me know. This is really the topic we go into. And what's exciting about digital twins, look, we have a lot of analytics, but that is often disconnected from what happens in the real world. So digital twins means I'm real-time monitoring what happens, and at the same time can influence what happens. And I mean, I'll give you an example. Jewel in Singapore at the airport is a massive shopping center that connects all of the terminals, but it's a relatively new installation, and they have there's so much technology in that shopping center. What impressed me most is some things like crowd control. They based on the mobile phones, they know the density they have. And for example, if it gets dangerously crowded somewhere, lifts don't stop at that level anymore. Escalators don't bring in people anymore. They only take people away from it. So this is sort of very small, sort of very smart implementation of sort of digital twin type of solutions. So you have anything, let me know, shoot me an email.
Well, I mean,
Connect on
Content
LinkedIn,
Evolution
have a
has,
look at my YouTube if you like.
yeah, Content Evolution has its own collab that, builds digital twins. We have 27 of them and they write together on a regular basis. So I'll share some of that with you.
Thank you.
So everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this special episode at a late hour here and an early hour for Jochen. Very, very valuable what you shared, and
Thank you.
keep going, my friend. You're doing great work, and I hope to visit you sometime in your native habitat, with heat and humidity. So all the best,
Thank
and
you, Kevin.
keep the world safe for service innovation, my friend. Take care, everyone, and in everything you
Thank
do,
you,
be
Kevin. Thank
intentional.
you, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for
Good
the
night.
support. Thank you.
Thank you.